Right now. So hello everyone. It's History Man over here. Also it's Troy, and we have a special guest that I'm going to be interviewing today. His name is Sam. By what's your channel again? I'm sorry.
It's called Khmer Record Archives.
Khmer Record Archives, and
Yes.
he has a lot of Southeast Asian 70 RPM records, and it's very interesting. It's very man, I haven't really have no words. I mean, really, it's a really interesting um, um, records that you have right there. So I have tons of questions for you, and let's get started. So, okay, so tell me about your background, about yourself, Sam.
Oh, well, me. Well, I'm Sam. I am a Cambodian ethnicity. I grew up with music, but it wasn't really traditional music. My family, when I grew up listening to 60s, 70s Cambodian pop music, rock and roll, things like that. But it wasn't really until I was 14 that I started to get into traditional music. And when I got into traditional music, I was like, well, there's just so many different genres, different styles, different singers, and just like so many of these singers, since the Vietnam War, they've all
Mhm.
been lost to time, and
Right.
a lot of these songs haven't been heard since 1950, 1960. So we're really
Right.
discovering. Goal is really to bring back, rejuvenate the old songs, bring them back for people to listen to. And
That's great.
yeah, I collect not just Cambodian 78s, but I collect, I have LPs, 45s,
Mhm.
from all over the world. I even have 60s doo-wop,
Right.
Dion and the Belmont stuff. Um, that's pretty much it. I'm a normal person.
Right. And a question now: did a lot of the '70s were lost during the war, or?
There's no. Cambodia is one of those countries where like production wasn't documented. So
Mm,
like it's really hard to tell how many were actually made. But when this war happened, I mean, they went out and they purposely went house to house, took all the records, burned them, smashed them to pieces. So
that's sad.
it's safe to say hundreds and thousands are lost. There's probably not that many left.
Yeah, that is really pretty sad. Yeah, and and you have hard dating them too because they're not really documented, or?
Yes, dating anything that was not pressed in France or Germany or England is nearly impossible to date. How the dating system I've come up with is it's really really like Stone Age, but like
Right.
I listen to the recording, I find out who the singer is, and I look how old they were, and it's on a 78, so it's got to be before 1960,
Right.
in most cases. So I look in that time, and I can get a rough estimate. It was in maybe like 1947 or 1952 or something. Like I was listening to their voice, if they sound like an old person or not.
Right.
Basic things like that.
Right. Okay. And how did you got into 78s? How did you what made you start to get really into them?
At first, I'll be honest with you, I had no interest in 78s. None at all. I wanted
Okay.
45s and LPs of like Sin Sisamut and the stuff that all people who collect Cambodian music won't really want, the big expensive Sin Sisamut singles and 45s. I went on eBay one day and I found two Cambodian 78s, and
Mhm.
I bought them, got them cheap, and I
Right.
listened to them and I was like, wow, this is amazing. This is a whole nother world. I have one of the original ones I bought when I was 15. Uh, Sadly, traded one when I was younger. Didn't know the value of it, and but yeah, it started pretty much on coincidence.
Right. All right. It's just really a coincidence. I mean, that to
Hmm.
be honest, that's how I got into Japanese 78s. So
Yeah.
that's how me. Now I did collect mostly just American stuff, just like what everybody else did.
Hmm.
But I've when I got into them, I accidentally bought them. Well, I didn't really accidentally. I bought them for a friend because my friend she loves Japanese culture, she likes Japanese, pretty much anything that's Japanese, and she was getting into records. I wanted to get her into 78 as a 78 RPM collector. So I was like, how about, okay, I looked into eBay, and all of a sudden it just popped up these Japanese 78s from like the 50s.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, I'm gonna buy these for her and say it is, but and just see what it is. And when they came by, I was like, you know what? I want to listen to this. I want to listen to some of this stuff. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
I played it on the portable. I had a 1950s RCA portable. So I played it. I played it, and I was like, man, this is some really good stuff. And this is like Japanese enka, a
Yeah.
lot of Japanese pop that was coming. That was really from it, and I was like, wow, I've never really. I'm gonna keep these. I know it sounds messed up.
I've done that before.
Yeah, but it's like I want to keep them because it's like it sounds really really good. So I got
It's
it was a
yes.
Mercury Apollodor. It was I forgot the other labels that came with it. I don't think it was a Tichiku. It was something else. Oh, Two King Records. So those are all the Japanese labels that came with it. So that was like me when I got into them. And since then I fell in love with them and I started to buy them. And
I've
then
got
later,
like
what?
I've got I don't have a ton of Japanese 78s to be honest. I used to have more
Right.
before I moved because I had to make space and I had to prioritize what countries I wanted to keep in space.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of Columbias, red Columbias with the stuff that GIs bought during World War II, to bring over. And
Right.
I have a handful of traditional stuff. I have this set of it's like a comedy sketch, a traditional comedy sketch on I can't remember the name of the label. It's an obscure label though. It's like a 5-disc set where it's a horrible quality recording. There's no content at all, really. It's
Really.
like it goes like 2 minutes without anyone saying anything. It's just a crowd you hear, and it's just fun stuff like that. I love to find.
Not to find. All right. All right. And keep in mind because this guy, Colton, he loves Red Columbias. He said,
Oh, really?
yeah.
Yeah, that's
But
that's my thing.
yeah, he said that you hear him. That's his thing.
I found so many Frank Sinatra Columbias that Frank Sinatra and I can't even it slips my mind how many just red Columbias I found. I stopped looking at them because I was like 50s 40s is really not my era of I do not prefer big band. That's just me though.
Right. No, I completely, I understand. I mean, me, I collect everything. Me mostly, I do like U.S., Japanese, and I do Latin American recordings too. So, because I'm from South America, so,
Mhm.
so I do like collecting Latin Americans. I like Argentine tango and Brazilian samba. I don't have Argentine records yet, but I'm planning to get some soon. I'm getting like a whole bunch because I know someone in Argentina that been able to send me a couple. Um, so the question is also I have with you is that so where do you get them? Where do you get those the Cambodian 78s? Where'd you get them from? It's
Um,
mostly eBay or
eBay is few and far between. And when they do come up, they go for a lot of money, more money than I
yeah.
sadly have to spend. But my resources are in Vietnam, in Cambodia, sometimes Thailand, Laos. It's mostly my family that will go out looking for me.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
my family go out looking for me, and I might get like 3 a year, maybe. So I don't
Right.
get that many. Um, But yeah, they'll go out and look for them for me and send them to me. That's pretty much how I get them. That
Okay.
and some contacts, like I said, for Vietnam, Thailand, things like that.
Things like that. Okay, that's cool. And how much you have currently right now? Do you know or
Um, did you say how many do I have?
yeah, how much you have currently?
Uh, 78s. Might have
Yeah,
almost
it could be
80.
78 or anything like that's Cambodian. Like let's say
Oh,
just records in
altogether,
general.
Records in general, I probably have 1,500 records.
Wow. Okay.
I have a
Okay.
lot of records.
Yeah. All right. All right. Yeah. My records, because my collection is really small, so it's like I always call my area scorched earth for like this type of stuff because I
It's
couldn't really find
yeah,
any.
it's hard
Yeah.
to find something that a lot of. I'll be honest with you. A lot of those 70s I don't listen to, and a lot of them I have not listened to, and I'm trying not to be one of those people who would have a crap ton of records and don't listen to them. I'm trying to let them go and just keep the ones I actually listen to. The
They
ones I actually
actually. Yeah.
listen to, I might only there's probably only what 300 I actually listen to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I was like, what I was trying to say is that it's like, because yeah, I mean, there are like some like Japanese traditional records that I do like or I don't like. So sometimes I just don't listen to them at all. But there's some of them I do like. A lot of the geishas were playing like the samatsen and stuff like that. I do listen to some of it, like or at least listen to it closely, but I don't like go in every day and just like just play it pretty
Yeah,
much.
it's I keep a lot of the stuff that I don't listen to for trading purposes. I I prefer to trade rather than sell.
Yeah. So you just trade it with anybody, like any 78 collector?
Yeah, any 70 collectors say like, oh, they're wanting something from Thailand, and they have this Carter family record I want, and I'm like, oh, I'll give you this.
Yeah, yeah, you can do that. Right, 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 right,
Yeah.
right, right. That's amazing, actually. That's amazing. So do you know the history that is the history of how like the industry at the time was? Like can you like explain that?
So I'll be honest with you. Don't quote everything I say because I'm not a professor or a teacher. So
Fine.
what I'm telling you is based off of my interviews with people who were alive during that time. So, um, 78s in that time were definitely a luxury.
Okay. I
You
could
had
see.
you had to have a certain amount of money to be able to buy one. But 78s in Cambodia are not referenced the same way 78s in the Western world are. A lot of 78s you'll find are sets. So like a set of a specific performance. Like I've got a set of wedding music. So
Mhm.
when when an orchestra couldn't be bought because it was too expensive, you would buy the records instead and play the records at a wedding for the ceremonies and stuff like that. Or if you were teaching Buddhist scriptures, you would get a set of records that a Buddhist monk had recorded for, I don't know, polyphone or something like that, and just play that in the temple to teach students. There isn't a lot of music that is purely entertainment. A lot of that stuff was recorded by the Western companies like Becca, Odon, and Columbia. Most of it, there are a few on the Vietnam label and some Cambodian labels like Angkor Wat that are like pop-ish music, entertainment music, but the vast majority of it is storytelling, traditional for temple use or weddings, or
Okay.
educational.
Okay, so that's interesting because it's like okay, so like people would just get like a phonograph or something and would
Mhm.
just play in the wedding or something or what?
Yeah, like you would rent a phonograph from a company, or you'd find someone who had a phonograph, and you would rent the records or buy them, whichever you had the money for. And for the wedding ceremony, you would play the records. If you wanted to play, if you wanted them to play um, the ceremony for cutting hair, they would play that record for you if you couldn't afford a orchestra.
Okay, that's very interesting because I like hearing something like that from that perspective too.
Mm-hmm,
Because like in the West, like I said, it's mostly for entertainment,
mm-hmm,
um, mostly for entertainment, really.
mm-hmm.
But it's like now that's interesting that in Cambodia they actually use it for stuff like big ceremonial stuff than than actually just for entertainment purposes. That's very interesting to hear. And now, is it like that in all Southeast Asian countries or just Cambodia?
to a degree, it's like that. It's
Yeah.
heavier in some countries that don't have that. I'm trying to think of the correct word. That don't have the industry, in the industrial means to produce records and recordings. So like in Cambodia was big until the 50s when Cambodia got its own record producing plant.
Right.
Vietnam was likely similar. Uh, Laos, I guarantee, was that way.
I
Thailand,
bet.
Thailand, not so much. Thailand had connections with England and Germany. They got their own companies, pretty early, and they had their own, comic sketches and entertainment records made even in the teens.
Okay. You have Thai records yourself, or
I do,
too?
yes. I have a few Thai records, a few early ones too. Yes.
Okay, that's good. That's
Mhm.
good. That's cool because I was wondering, because I was like, that's very interesting because and I remember you said that in that video, that you what you said it was like most of us like stories like it goes crazy like the stories go like 20 parts.
Yes, you'll have like I have one disc that's part 50, like 58. So there's like 30 discs in that set. The chances of you finding
Wow.
every single one, I guarantee you in my life I will never find every one of those discs.
I don't think so. Think so. If it's like that long, you know
But
what I mean?
also it's a big downside too because there's so much content that's lost. So like you'll have discs that are part like 13 to 14, and you'll have part 21 and 20, or 20 and 21, or 19 and 20, and you'll be missing all these other parts. So when you listen to them, you can't enjoy them really because you're not gathering what's going on. It's
Yeah,
kind of
what's
like
going on?
coming in on someone's conversation halfway through. You have no idea what they were talking about before. You don't understand the content or like
Like
the
the whole
direction.
context
Yeah,
of the story.
yeah,
Right.
yeah. So that's
Yeah.
a huge downside.
Right. That is pretty really sad, really. I mean, yeah, I mean, you can't find it with all those parts. That is crazy, and I can't imagine just going down and hunting like all those parts, for these storytelling, something. And you understand most of them, right?
Oh yes, I understand most of them. The language hasn't changed that much. What changed was the script, the way they write. So
Ah,
that's pretty much all that changed. The talking, I mean, you have like high level speech, which is like reserved for the really rich people and the king and the royals, which is difficult to understand because it's very proper. And my Cambodian language is my grandma didn't want to teach me, my family didn't want to teach me, so it's self taught. So my
okay.
my Cambodian is very like second grade, but for the most part, I can get what's going on.
Like what's going on in the
Yeah.
record, what they're
Hmm.
talking about, and
Yeah. Well, it's actually better in a way because I can understand the literal meaning, what they are actually saying. It's you're not romanticized or like like they're saying this, but they actually mean this.
right,
I get the raw meaning of what they're saying.
right. Okay, okay. That's actually awesome. And you said, what is the oldest Cambodian record you had? One that I saw on your channel was from '09, right?
Yeah. I have several from a series. This one is actually one that I put on there. This is Pathé, so it's made by France. Pathé
Okay.
label. This sleeve is from one of the Arabic countries. It's just in the sleeve, just because.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
But this one right here is yes, this is you can't see it very well, obviously, but it's a
Right.
Pathé label. It's an etched Pathé from 1909, recorded in late '08 and released in 1909. This comes from the first series. This is actually a monk chanting. So,
Okay.
and these Pathé recordings were not made for like mass production. They were made to fill Pathé's catalog to make it look like they had. Because if you look at Pathé catalogs, like we have
Mhm.
music from all over the world. So
Okay.
you might have like 20 recordings from Thailand. You might have 15 recordings from Cambodia, and like 300 recordings from India and stuff. They were just trying to fill the catalog to make it to advertise that look at all this stuff we have. So
Right.
they recorded primarily the royal people. So this was recorded by a very high-ranking monk at the time who was a student in one of the temples, and he's reciting. It's basically the song for the leader.
Right.
Basically recite what good Buddhist life is like and things like that.
Okay, so pretty much, and that's what's like the story
Yeah, it's
pretty much
it's
about.
it's about basically saying, don't do this, don't do bad things, don't steal. Your life is always changing.
Right.
Don't ruin it on something bad and stuff like that. The quality of the record is very poor. Obviously,
I've heard it. Yeah.
they did not do a good job recording. So there's a lot of detail lost in it, but I know who it is because of Pathé. They wouldn't. I was told by a person who knows a lot about Pathé, they would not record someone who was not well known. Of course, there
Um.
are exceptions to that, but in this case, they would want to record. They would want to say they have a recording from a chief monk in the royal palace or the king's royal orchestra playing.
Right.
They would want that stuff as advertisement. So that's how I assume that this is from said person.
From that person. That is really interesting. And I can, you can, I could see that. And also, here's a, also, another question too. Is that, I noticed like most of the 78s that you post in there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or obviously very, obviously yeah, do enjoy them. Don't get me wrong, I do enjoy them. It's very, some of them are in really, really bad shape because how
Oh
bad
yeah.
their storage. Well,
Uh, yeah. I'll be honest with you. They sound horrible. They are. I know. I agree with you, and I don't blame you 100% for saying that. They are in horrible shape, and 90% of the records I have are in horrible shape. They're in horrible shape because
yeah.
it's not that people didn't take care of them; it's that people didn't have the means to buy updated equipment. Someone who bought a record player in 1920 would keep that record player and keep playing records on it until the Civil War happened in 1970
Ah,
something. So
that makes
they,
sense.
they didn't change their needles. They didn't change the needles. They didn't get updated equipment.
Right.
They didn't care because they were just working with what they had. And
That's pretty much what they had.
yeah, you use what you have available pretty much. And like I said, it's not that they didn't care about them,
Right.
but
Yeah.
they
I bet they did care.
they didn't have the economic means to
Means to
keep
upgrade.
up with everything. Yes, to upgrade. Yes.
Yeah, because I was wondering that too. It's like because like the label is really really worn, or like the audio is really really
Mhm.
worn. Some of them I see the labels just non-existent.
Gone. Yeah, it's gone. Um,
Yeah.
that also has to do with the way they made some record labels. The labels are on a gold print stamped on a red background. Now, I'm sure your friend could tell, and you might know this. Red Columbias, if they're not taken care of, they fade. Like the labels fade so badly.
You know what you mean?
Yeah, and like years of being out in the sun, being subjected to moist environments takes a
Mhm.
toll on anything. So
Right.
that's yeah. I do have a lot of records, not a lot. I might have 15 or so that are in really good shape, that are very playable and sound very good. But the majority, if you're looking for a Southeast Asian record, do not expect it to be an E condition. You
Like
won't
that's
find
in
it.
really that condition. Yeah.
That
Yeah.
you're like you're hoping to the gods, you know. You have to keep hoping too.
Yeah, because I did hear some records. I did hear some records, which I will play for them for the audience can hear. Some of your records. I did hear your records that were some of them were in really really good shape. I forgot which one, but I think it's like the earlier, like not the earlier ones, the later ones from like the 50s and 60s.
Yeah, like the blue and yellow labeled Angkor Wat discs are in really good shape. The reason they're in good shape is because those discs were pressed in France and they stayed in France.
Oh,
Yep,
okay.
yep. So
Okay.
like
I thought they were like from there,
yeah,
like
like
literally.
Columbia label, Becca label, Victor label, Angkor Wat, some Vietnam labels. Anything that was pressed in Europe that stayed in Europe
Mhm.
is the only way to find good quality records. But sadly, it's the most expensive way.
It's the most expensive way.
Hmm.
And how much they like usually go for? I mean, I bet they're a lot of money.
It used to be what 5 years ago you could get a Cambodian record for about $100,
Jeez,
and
man.
that's still a lot of money
That
for
is,
a
yeah.
78.
For a 78?
In
Wow.
recent times, because I am a collector. I am a collector. I won't go to get me wrong. I love collecting, but I am a archivist and preservationist
Yeah.
first. That is what I do. I don't
That is
buy
what
these records because I want to hoard them and keep them. You see, from my channel, every time I get a record, I post it on there for people to listen to. You can. My goal is to be able to bring this stuff to people and they can listen to it for free. I
for
don't want to
free.
be like the Cambodian
Exactly.
Vintage Music Archive who charges you $1.99 to listen to a 2 minute song. No, that's not what I'm here for. I'm here to bring it for everyone for free.
For
Um,
free. And
now,
for everyone to enjoy it and able to hear it and listen to
exactly,
it. Yeah.
exactly. Now they range from anywhere from $100. One went for 1,000, 1,200 bucks
Oh
early in the
wow.
year,
Jeez.
and it
Yeah.
was because this one person they drive up the price. When one person sells a record for
Mhm.
$1,200, everyone goes and says, "Well, this one sold for $1,200. Mine must be worth that much too." When in reality, they're not. They shouldn't be worth more than $25, $30 a piece. You know,
Right.
it's kind of that way with like you know Beatles records or early Elvis records. Everyone thinks their Elvis or Beatles record is worth a fortune, when in reality, it's not.
Yeah. I can see that. Yeah. Because it's like because I was yeah, I mean really. And not even just the most common 78s are very like if you just go on eBay, like people
Hmm.
some people would like charge you like they're like at least like $30 a piece on them, and
Yeah.
like people just think it's like it's like a rare thing, like Colton's favorite Red Columbia's. I mean,
Or
really.
you can find like a Benny Goodman Deca someone's trying to sell for $30. It's like, why?
Right. Colton, you got any questions? Before we can move to the next one. I wonder if he has them.
I think you're covering things fairly well. I might have some things to add later.
Okay. Okay. All right. Um, let me see what else. What else I have. That was all. Do you have any other? I know you had some Chinese ones. You any other foreign settings too?
I've got records from Thailand, Vietnam, um, Germany, Russia,
Oh,
Mexico, Canada, Ukraine, India. I'm trying to think of other Asian countries. The
so you got a
Philippines. I got a whole
you
bunch of
got.
stuff. China. Yeah, when I say world music, I mean like, I got from every continent. I got music except Antarctica.
Imagine Antarctica 78.
Wow. I even have some recordings, Native American, some Eskimo recordings, things like that.
Oh,
Just
that's
fun,
pretty cool.
fun little things to say like, oh well, I've got this cool Indian recording.
Right, right. Okay, because I've never. The only countries I have is Japan and Mexico, and pretty much it's pretty much, and probably even Argentina soon. But
I I have some Latin 78s, which I'll be honest, I don't know where they're from, but they're like 50s recordings and stuff like that. I know they're fairly late recordings. I know that much. I'll
if
have
you
to
can
dig them
take a
out sometime.
picture,
Yeah,
yeah,
I'll have to dig them
if
out
you
and show
could,
you.
yeah, you can show it to me, and maybe I can identify one of them because I'm like right now it's like I'm studying Argentine 78s.
Hmm.
So like I'm like listening to a lot of tango, Argentine tango,
I've
and
got some tango, some guitar tango. I think on my yellow label, which is pretty good.
yeah, I love guitar tango, man. I was listening to that yesterday all day. I just love guitar tango. I forgot the Argentine guy that does it. I forgot what what's his name. I know I starting to like people like he's a famous Argentine singer. And you know Carlos Gardel. He's a very famous Argentine singer, and you know he's great. I love him. Um, let's see, and um, hi Hayden. That's also Hayden. He's another 78 character too as well. That come in here. Okay, so how? All right, so I have a question for again for your channel again.
Hmm.
How does so you how do you get a lot of feedback about your stuff? About
I
your
get I get like no feedback, which
oh
frustrates
really?
me. I've got 3,100 subscribers and no one tells me anything. I wish I got, people who are like, "Oh, I'd like to listen to this genre," or "Hey, you got anything from here? Let's listen to that." I wish there were
Yeah.
people like that, but most of the people come to my channel for one certain genre of music. It's called a yai,
What's it called?
it's called a yai. It's a type of entertainment uh,
Mhm.
music, which is like a man and a woman basically rapping back and forth, insulting each other and things like that. People come to my channel for that, and not a lot of people come for anything else. So yeah,
Really? Okay, I
yeah, I
bet you
don't get
had
any feedback really.
okay because that's just I mean we barely get
We're
feedback from
overlooked,
anybody
Yeah.
telling what they want to listen or what they want to listen or go get or send me to get this record or that
Yeah.
record.
I try to engage with my audience, but I mean, it's not very. This doesn't happen very much. It's nobody is wanting to ask questions.
Ask questions
Yeah.
about the record. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I barely have stuff like that too. I mean, people would ask me questions about about like 78 sometimes, but I
Like you get the
yeah
generic question, "Oh, how old is this?" or
yeah
"Where's it from?" things like that. But you don't really get questions that poke at the meat.
right really like someone would know about like
Yeah.
okay it's like yeah you pretty much get I always get the generic questions too so really um and Colin, you still have no questions, or I don't have any. I don't think the chat has any other questions too, because I'm like I do have some more. Obviously, like I said, when I mean yeah, I have a lot of questions. I got a lot of questions about
Oh,
this.
that's fine. I throw them at me. I love
Okay,
questions.
Colin, you still have questions, or you're still thinking about some?
Um, I don't know. I mean, did you ever see, in terms of the artists, was it mostly Cambodian music itself, or was there any like foreign music recorded in America or in Europe anywhere that ever made its way over to Cambodia?
You talking like similar to like how like Japanese records they have like American reissues.
Yeah, things like that.
I have yet to find anything like that. I don't doubt it happened. I'm sure it must have happened, because even in
I'm
Korea they
thinking
had
so.
stuff like that. Um, but I have yet to find any, and I have no knowledge of anything like that. I do have Western influenced Cambodian records. I have a Cambodian foxtrot, which is pretty fun,
That okay. That would be interesting to hear.
and it makes no sense. The guy's singing about lemons, and it makes no sense at all. But you listen to it, it definitely sounds like
What?
it sounds like a 20s foxtrot, definitely. But I mean,
But he's just singing about
he's just
lemons.
singing
It's just
about
how
lemons, yeah.
that honestly that is funny. I would like to hear that actually. And
I'll
so
send
like
you a link to that on my YouTube.
yeah, please do. I really would like to hear that's that that does sound funny, but because I would like to hear like Cambodian foxtrot there here and there.
Like
So
just the other day, um, I found a Japanese 78 that's got Frank Sinatra on one side, and then the other side is Maple Leaf Rag. So
okay.
it's
Yeah.
like it's fun stuff.
Yeah, I had I mean I when I was on eBay I found a Japanese pressing of Jack Payne, but
I think I
um
once had one, but it had a big edge chip, and like
okay.
an edge chip with a
Like
crack.
on the edge.
Yeah, but it was like an inch into the record, so
Okay.
you couldn't listen to it fully.
Yeah, I mean you should I mean Colton had like a haul of like a bunch of 70s that were like I wouldn't say most of them damaged, but some of them were damaged, right, Colton?
Yeah, there were a good bit of them that are damaged. I always see a good bit, and then I get sorted through them, and there's not a whole lot, but they break so easy. Especially like I have a good number of ones from the 20s I see that have a bunch of edge chips, and they're just coming apart. It's quite sad.
And like, yeah, with the edge chips, like, when you're looking through 78s, you just give it, you shine it in the light, give it a quick look for any hairlines or anything like that, and you move on. But then if you buy them and you start looking at them, you're like, dang, this has a hairline crack, or dang, this has a chip that's forming into a crack, or a crack that starts at the spindle hole.
Right. So, and here's another question: do you have any also like other hobbies besides like 78s, or?
Yeah,
You do?
I'm a musician.
Okay.
I play music. I play guitar. I play drums. I play Cambodian instruments too.
Yeah, I actually seen that actually in one of your videos. Did you like? So, what are the instruments that they use, or like what you care to tell us?
They use stringed instruments. They use percussion instruments. They don't have any brass instruments other than cymbals. But they have like 2-string fiddles called the throw, and then they have the throw which is a large coconut fiddle. They have some reed instruments, not many, like the strolai, massive amount of percussion, xylophones and gongs and stuff like that. Plucked stringed instruments. They have the I don't know why people call it a floor zither, but it's called the K. It's a stringed plucked instrument that you play on the ground. And then they have the chipay, which is used in traditional storytelling.
Oh, with that.
Yeah. And flutes.
The flutes. Right. Okay. Because that's very interesting that you still like interested, even like do you show it to like your friends? I know your family's into it, but now like do you show it to your friends? See if like...
I force my friends a lot to participate in my musical stuff. Like I tell them like, okay, just clap your hands and I'll sing. There's just stuff like that, or just hit this like that. Play the cymbals like this. That's pretty much it. That's my extent to it. I annoy them so much with it, and it's fun. It's so fun.
Yeah, I do that too. I just blast a bunch of I just grab a bunch of 78s to just play them for no reason, and I just I was like, well, we're listening to this, so it's like,
if it's not jazz or blues or country, they do not want anything to do with it. I have there's no 78 collectors near me that I know of, so I'm the only one that I know of. And
I mean, Hayden is literally like he's in Ohio, so he's like in your state. So
oh really?
Yeah.
Wow.
You'll meet him. He's also on the server too as well. So he's at least that's like the only person I know from like that's like at least that's near you. So
well, you go to the antique malls and stuff, and they're like, wow, look, you go to check out. There's this like guy. He's like, wow, look at those albums, look at those vinyls, and I'm like, yep. So how much is it? Come on,
go on.
Get out of here.
Right, exactly. I always get that stuff too.
Please don't call them vinyls. They're records. Just call them records.
Me too. I just we us 78 collectors, we just cringe so hard when people just call them vinyls. It's like,
I hear that and I'm just like, oh, get me out of here. How much is it? I'll pay you more than it costs. Just let me get out of here.
Out of here. Yeah, because it's like I had like you wouldn't believe it. So I went to the antiques. I went to an antique mall, right, in my state. I'm from New Jersey, and I went down south there to an antique mall, and obviously I collect other antiques too. But I was looking for 78s that was there, and I bought. This guy literally thought I had, and they were all Victors from like the year 46. They're mostly like big band stuff, right, and like common stuff, and it had like those 78 albums. Right. So I was like, all right. I grabbed one because he had like at least like 5 of them. There was even one that was just really that just was just nonstop Frank Sinatra, literally. Like all of it was literally Frank, like the whole entire album was literally Frank Sinatra. But the Victors are from like all 46. They're all like different leaders and big band leaders.
Hmm.
So I said, okay. So I bring it to the checkout, right? And the guy that owned that kiosk right there, and they called him and it was like he wanted like I think it was like $70 for like this album. Like he wanted like $70 for just this album, these common records. And I'm like, why it doesn't even worth that much, you know what I
I
mean?
mean,
Like,
if you had a crate of them, it wouldn't be worth that much. It wouldn't be worth half that much. And like
yeah,
I
it's not
find
that
that
much. I
so
get it, yeah.
yeah, I find that so much too. Like you go and you find an album of 78s and you look through it, and you might find one good record out of, 6, 7 albums. And then you go and look and it's got like a $50 price tag on the front of the album. I'm like, huh? $50? I don't want to buy that. I just want the one record.
You just want the one record.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People
Because
are
I get
always
if it
like,
was like if
yeah,
I'm
it
buying like a
belongs
whole
to the
entire
album or something.
crate, you know what I mean? If I'm buying like a whole entire crate of like your records, you know what I mean? But for $70, it's like, you know what I mean? I mean, I even
Yeah.
went to a one mall. I'm going
You could go on eBay and find the record you want for $5. I mean,
basically, and it's they're all like common. Like there's nothing rare, really in there. They were like, they were literally, just really common post-war, Victor 78. Really, there wasn't really anything about it, and literally, there was a store that I went to, right?
mhm.
It was those antique stores that was like half. It's I'm not sure. I think it's a New Jersey thing, right? I'm not sure if it's like a cross American thing. I feel like it's a Jersey thing, but I think most us New Jerseyans we do this is that you have those antique stores that disguise as like boutiques. If you
Oh
know,
yeah, I've been to some of those before, and
yeah.
when I haven't found one in Ohio, but I haven't like in Kansas. I've seen some like that. Like you go in
Really?
there and it's like, what do you mean antiques? Where's the antiques at?
Yeah, exactly. You look at like where's the antiques at, and it's like, and but she has like most antiques is like literally upstairs.
Hmm.
And this woman had a gold mine of 78. There was like crates upon crates of like this place was gold. Okay,
Hmm.
like she had crates. And I should have. To this day there are some records I regret getting. Like she had an Austro-Hungarian record 78, and
Hmm.
that was pretty cool from like the First World War. I was I should have got that, and it literally I think it had something to do with Franz Joseph, the Emperor Franz Joseph
Hmm.
of Austria-Hungary, because it had his face on it.
Oh my goodness! I just the other day I was out hunting, not the other day, probably sometime last month, and I come across these German records, and it says produced for the German Army, World War One, and it's got the cool label of the soldier. It's not really cool; it's really sad actually. A soldier standing with this girl over a
Oh
grave.
yeah, I've
You
seen
know that label,
those.
that green label. I
Yeah,
found
yeah,
two.
green
I found
Columbia
two
label.
of
Yeah,
them recorded in New York for the German Army, because this was 1916, before America joined the war. So it's
right.
cool to look at that stuff, the history, like, oh, it's made for the German Army, but it's made in America. People think
Right.
World War One or World War Two, oh, Germany's the bad guys, but
Right. Exactly. So yeah, and I was like, that was cool. And I think a friend of mine, he was actually so I was DMing him upon DMing him because I want a record like that. You know what I mean? Because I do like German marches. And I was just like DMing him about all of this, all of it because he wanted to get rid of it. So I wanted to DM him and was like, "Hey man, when are you gonna ship this? We're gonna give this to me?" Because you said you want to sell the record, right? I always keep saying, "Hey, Greg, do you have can I are you gonna lose? You're gonna sell this record or not?" You know what I mean? So I was
mhm.
like, because he's not really into like 1910s music. He's more into like 40s and 50s stuff. So he's mostly like into those 70s, maybe like 30s too as well. So he's really mostly into that. So when he buys like lots of like 78s, sometimes he gets 10s and he just sells them. But I don't know, honestly. But to this day, I regret getting that Austro-Hungarian record. She had a lot of interesting records I came back 2 years after and see if there was any left and that I can pick up. And sadly, she wasn't. She kind of threw them all out because no one was buying them really, and
I
that's just
that's a sad story of it. You know, when I
yeah.
was in Kansas over the weekend, I went to this record store in Kansas City, and 3 4 years ago, I had gone there in my teens and went. And they had crates and crates and crates and crates of 78s. Went back, they had 4 milk crates, and I just picked from those. He was like, I was
Mhm.
just about ready to throw them out. You can pick through and take what you want. So I picked
Yeah.
up those Japanese records. Um,
Middle of
one,
Kansas too. That's
yeah,
just
middle of
crazy.
Kansas. One really good jazz 78 on a Victor Scroll, and then one nice country on Supertone, I think. Supertone or Superior, I forget what the label is. A nice early 20s record, or early mid 20s country yodel steel guitar. And yeah, he was like, oh, 50 cents a piece. It's like, okay.
Okay.
He
Yeah.
even gave
Yeah.
me a handful of Italian records for free. You know, he's like,
Was it
just take these with you.
those Centra ones?
Are they
It's Centra
Central?
label.
It's a blue label.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Centra. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Because I mean that's the only Italian label I'm familiar with.
I think that is the label. I have to double check, but you know, he's just like,
Yeah.
here, take these with you too. I say, okay, thank you.
I was like, okay, like the ones that's like not, yeah. I mean, I would take anything too. I haven't been. I mean, right now, like I said again, my place is like scorched earth, really, because it's like for 78s because like I have a pawn shop near me. It's in Broadway, so but it's that's our main street really, and he didn't really he had Enrico Caruso 78s, right, and I bought them all, but and he had like one classical 78 that was recorded around 1924. It's a Victor Batwing. So 24, 23, somewhere around there. And I was like, okay. So I buy them, and I bought a vinyl 78 from like 54. So, but that one is really just kind of just not really good. It was like all dirty. It was all messed up. I just had to clean it because it's really it doesn't sound good. So I bought that, and he didn't really have anything else. So I didn't really buy anything else. That's what he had, sadly. And there was one in Staten Island that I went in New York. I went there and they had some 7/8s, which I bought a couple, and then I bought them, and I did cringe, and like I said, how you said, Sam, I was cringe so hard about saying just give it to me, please. I don't want to hear that you think it's vinyl and whatnot. And they even thought it was like I was cringing so hard too. It's like I had they had a Sonora, which is a later Sonora, which is actually electro. It's I'm not sure if you've heard of it, but
Is it on the
it's
red label? Is it
no,
red
no,
logo?
it's not a record. It's a record player.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, it's an electric record player. I don't have those Sonoras yet, but I know what you mean.
Yeah.
They had those. I mean, they had the record player, and I was just cringing so hard just for them like not knowing like what the issue was. You know what I mean? So I was like, sadly, I didn't get it. I should have picked it up, but they were like asking for like not really bad for like $40. But like the problem is, I walked all the way there, so I didn't really. I couldn't have nowhere else to put it, and my grandma, she's not really fond of me, collecting like collecting antiques and 78s
I
or
know what
what I
that's
can
like.
buy and resell. You know what I mean? Because it's like she's not really into those. So it's kind of hard to like bring her over here. It's like, hey, grandma, can you I want to pick up this item. Can I put it in the car and drive home with it? But it's like she's not really into that.
My grandma, whenever I buy anything, she's like, "How much can you resell it for?" And I have to tell her like, "Oh, I'll make like $70 off this." I'm not making anything, but it's my justification to keep it.
It's just a vacation to keep it. Right? Yeah. Same mine too.
She has to be happy, or yeah, she's like, "What are you doing with all your money?"
Yeah, you do with all your money. Right. Yeah, same because it's like I had there was a phonograph they had over there, but they want a lot of money for really. I forgot the model, but it's like I think it's like yours. I think your Victor.
The the
So
um the 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 console unit or the
not a console, it's a tabletop.
tabletop. Oh, okay, like the one without the cover, the number 4.
Yeah, I
Okay,
think so.
I've
And they want a lot of money for it, and plus I can't walk all the way to home because it's very far. So it's like,
that yeah, you walk, you'll have some big muscles if you come back carrying that thing.
yeah, exactly. So it's like that's just very hard. So all right, so I'm gonna put some music so the viewers can hear your music. That's
Hmm.
on the record. So I'm just gonna choose a random, I don't know, like 78, so people can hear it. Then we can talk about that
Hmm.
specific record, and then
See, I wish
really we can just shut it down.
people would do this. I wish people would ask about the music. This is good. I congratulate you on that.
Okay, not a problem. It's like I said, I'm very big into listening to music because my grandfather he traveled around the world. You
Hmm.
know, back in the 60s and 70s, I have pictures. I haven't scanned them all, but my grandfather he liked to travel, so he went like in big routes. So one time he did a challenge in 1969. He went from London, right, to San Francisco by both boat and plane. So he went to countries like he started from England, then Belgium, and then from that route. So England, Belgium, Israel, Iran, and then he went to India, Thailand, right?
Hmm.
And then Hong Kong, Japan, and then San Francisco. So yeah, so he pretty much just went like 8 countries, just like literally
That's
both
cool.
boat and plane, and just like circled it. And it's like he was very, and I had a lot of LPs of like world music,
Hmm.
so he loved listening to world music. And for me, I love history, right? So I wonder what what the other 78 recordings of like other, and I kind of grew up with it because he would explain of like this is what the people listen to in India. And he went to Thailand. He had like books about Thailand back like in 16. I have pictures when he went in Thailand in the 60s. I can show them to you. I'll link them to you after the stream. Um, he took pictures of them and he had books about Thailand. He used to tell me stories. And most of these stories, right, it came out of like some of them just kind of like an Uncharted video game, or
Yeah.
like some of like the stories are like saying like or in like an Indiana Jones film, and just saying it's like, well, this is how I went to Thailand. I came to Thailand and I went and I saw all the big like this guy is amazing. Like if he was alive right now, he would man, you would like chew your ear off about like him like traveling to places because that was his hobby. He liked to travel because I think when he was a kid, he used to read a lot of National Geographic magazines,
Hmm.
and that's what kind of sparked him to like travel. You know what I mean?
That's
So
cool.
yeah. So he's like, and he's like, yeah, I like to try. He's like, yeah, I went to Brazil, and I think he even went to like Brazil and like he and Kenya, like in Africa,
Hmm.
and actually like went to like the natives actually that's there, and he actually like interact with them, talk to them. He wanted to like to learn their culture and stuff like that. And I have a couple of stuff that he brought back from there too. At least I saved a couple because we cleaned out the house because I'm moving soon.
Hmm.
But it's I did manage to save a couple of stuff that what he brought and what he came back with. So so world music, it's for me, right? It's very interesting to hear, and you preserving that, like preserving, Cambodian 70s, and I've never even listened to Southeast Asian music ever. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So I had no idea. I never listened to it. I was listening because I know a Japanese 78er that came to America. That came to America because my friend, he's he's related. He has Japanese. He's related to this Japanese person, and she collects Japanese 70s. She was telling me that the whole industry was. It was, she was telling me about all types of different labels and all that stuff, right? So I was kind of interested that too. The reason too. That's probably one of the reasons why. but yeah, um, and that's just amazing that you really decided to um come by. Listen. To document. That's what I'm trying to
Hmm.
say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's just hear the music, and we can actually um, present people, and then we can talk about that song. You probably are more knowledgeable than I am, so
I'm
we
excited
just
to see what you pick.
okay. So let's see if I can if I it could be like anything like 78
Hmm.
LP related, or like, and it's just random, like this one right here. Let me see if I could it's gonna come in, get an ad coming in through. Just before I play it, right? So the viewers can hear your stuff. I'm not sure, it probably is gonna come through the mic, or I might have to share my screen and do it
Hmm.
there. Um do you have any other things to add, Colton, before I play it?
Nothing in particular, no.
Okay, good. Okay, so I can add it in here. You probably would recognize the song, so all right. Can you guys hear it?
Hmm.
Okay, good. Okay. Just show people a little preview of that. That was actually pretty good.
So that is I gotta remember what the name of the song is now, but I know the song. It's oh yeah, it's called Sakrava, which I've been having a lot of trouble trying to figure out what that actually means, because I've heard it has several different meanings. But Sakrava, I have several songs that are called Sakrava, which I think is some style of music, some type of music. But type as not type as in a genre. If that makes sense. It's like regional type thing. But that is
Yeah.
early '60s recording by Chun Vana, who was a very early pop artist.
Yeah.
She recorded.
So the noise.
I don't think she recorded any 78s. I don't think she did.
Okay.
But she first started recording on the Tepni Met label, and these are among the earliest recordings of her. They have to be. I guarantee it. But that song is in the style of which is like a slow round dance where you dance in a circle, a slow partner dance. Um, the melody is actually a traditional song. So it's
Yeah.
actually the melody is from a Mahauri entertainment orchestra type traditional melody, and
Yeah.
you find that a lot with pop music is that they take traditional melodies and tunes that just kind of make them a little more upbeat, add
More
Western
upbeat,
instruments. Yeah,
because that's
Western
what I
instruments.
hear when
Yeah,
I was hearing that.
there's a guitar, an electric guitar, there's a bass, there's a
Right.
drum, and then there's a trumpet in that one. And
Yeah.
so they find a way to make traditional songs new again, pretty much in that time. That's what they were doing.
Okay, because that really sounded really good. I like the drums that were coming from the background. Her voice is really good too. Uh,
One thing I'll tell you this too. Funny you say her voice is good. I like her voice
it
too,
is.
but a lot of people hate her voice. A lot of people hate her voice. But I like her voice too. I think it's good. Also, you can tell it's an early recording by her voice. She sounds very young. She might have been 20, 22 when she sang this.
Okay.
But funny thing is, all these recordings are single takes. They did not rehearse. When you
Okay.
listen to these, you always hear mistakes. You always hear the bass play a wrong note or a guitar mess
Oh,
up.
okay.
Yeah, so that's a fun thing. In Western recording studios, they got unlimited amount of tapes they can record. Cambodia,
Right.
you might only have one master that you can record.
Right.
You might not
Yeah.
even have a master. You might just have a portable recorder, a portable reel-to-reel tape recorder. So
And just record it.
just record it, take it to the studio. Here, I want to make a record out of this. Okay, sure.
Okay. Wow. Right. Yeah. And it's just pretty much just how it worked.
Mhm.
Colton, what do you think of the song?
I think it was good. I quite liked it. Might mean a bit more if I knew what it was saying at all, but it's good music.
The song is talking about she's sad. She's this is 90% of Cambodian music is talking about how someone's leaving you or your loved one doesn't love you anymore or something like that. So keep that in mind. This song
Yeah.
she's talking about she's sad because of her lover. She says she feels sadness in her heart and her chest, and she kind of just wants him to come back, stuff like that. She misses him, her, or they could not be talking about a person. They could just be talking about life in general, or they miss their country or their home. It's really hard. Context is not there when it comes to these type of songs. You really don't know who they're talking about or what they're like. If they're talking about a person, or if it's just like a feeling or a place they miss. But she's sad. She's
She's
sad.
pretty much just
Yeah.
sad.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much of like throughout this era. That's
Yeah.
just pretty much what
That's
they talk about.
that's
And
what it
that's
was.
and that's when, just like you said, that's when pop came around, or
Yeah, popular music came around in like probably the 40s, probably during World War II. After World War II, soldiers came and they brought with them their records, their jazz, their blues. And Southeast Asia, they loved slow fox and foxtrot and rumba. They loved that stuff. So they made their own takes on it and things like that.
like, so like, okay, so now I have a question for this too.
Mhm.
Okay, did they recorded anything like during when the Japanese took over French Indochina? Did they record anything, or did the Japanese like, you're not going to record anything if you like it or not? Like, did they? That's a really interesting question that I just came up with my head.
I do know that some records were pressed in Japan for Cambodia.
Okay.
Nippon Columbia made the Eagle label. The Japanese Eagle label, right?
Wait, yes, yeah.
Yes, yeah. They pressed records for Cambodia, and Sensismo's earliest songs are on that label, which is like, I think that had to have been what, 56 or 7 when that particular one came out. But I guarantee you that they did still record, because Cambodia is not that much of a strategic place. I mean, the
Right.
Japanese came in, okay, we control you now. And I bet they were pretty much just like, okay, oh well.
Right.
So that
So,
I'm sure they recorded stuff. I don't have it. I'll be honest with you. I don't have any direct evidence that they made any discs or recordings during that time. But I don't doubt that they did.
okay.
I mean,
Okay.
the Russians weren't exactly like like Hitler in some
Right.
ways. They were pretty bad, but they they were modest when it came to rights, as in music and what you could listen to and what you could,
From
go
what I've
under.
heard,
Yeah.
yeah. Because it's like because I do know for a fact that music, because I hear, because I know a guy, PAX 41 Music Time Machine. You know that one? You have to know that guy.
I don't think I do.
Okay.
I don't think
He's
I do.
another 78er actually, and he makes like compilations of like 20s music, 30s music, mostly
Actually,
20s and 30s.
now that you say that, does ring a bell.
Yeah.
I am active on the Facebook groups, 70
Okay.
RPM Facebook group, so I
Okay.
interact with a lot of collectors on there, and I see a lot of stuff on there.
Yeah. Okay. And because he had German 78s too as well. Ones that are recorded, during Weimar Germany, and then one was recorded during Nazi Germany, and you can just hear the difference
Mm-hmm.
because it's more like 1920s. It was more like jazz up the beat. What you have during Nazi Germany, you still kind of hear like the jazz part. Well, it's just not that much. You know what I mean, Cole? I think you've heard some of them when we were in VC.
Yeah, I've
It,
heard a few things
it's
before.
not like that was like recorded in Nazi Germany, like because like I think like Goebbels, he kind of banned jazz
Yeah,
pretty
he,
much.
he he did he hated jazz. So
He
like
hated jazz.
you have these like yeah, I know what you're talking about too. You have these really good jazzy German 20s and 30s recordings, and then you go to Nazi Germany and it's so regulated and so linear. You can hear it and you can feel it. It's not fun to listen to, in my opinion. Not as
Right.
fun to listen to as the earlier stuff because of that
Yeah.
reason.
Yeah, because of that reason. Yeah, because I mean, some of them I listen to. Right.
Mhm.
I'm like at least mid late 30s. It's okay, but it's not as good as the ones from like the 20s and 30s, early 30s. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Because it's like it's just really it's just not really as good. But I kind of do like at least some of the recordings that were there at the time. You know what I mean?
I am a big history guy too. I collect World War II, World War One, German, artifacts, uniforms, and memorabilia. And
Oh, you collect that too?
I have been looking for some German recordings for World War II, which I can't believe they're that hard to find. You
Oh
know,
yeah,
like Nazi era recordings are so hard to find.
very, very very hard to find. And Pax 41 is named Bob. Bob, he's very lucky they have a couple because
Oh yeah,
that's
you got a
very,
couple. Hold on to those.
yeah. And I don't have any. Like I said, I only have like two countries, but I would like to get some like those Soviet. Have you even heard those Soviet jazz recordings too? Oh man, they're really
I've
good
never
too.
heard the Soviet jazz recordings. The only Soviet music I've heard is stuff that praises Stalin.
Really, I those Soviet jazz stuff. It's really good. I've listened to a couple. So, you want me to put another, because I'm planning to at least put like three songs, and then we could talk about them, and maybe we can like wrap it up.
That's fine.
Okay, cool. And then because that one I do like. So here's another one. Like I said, I just randomized your the records. So they both 78, both vinyl or 78. This one's like a 45. So let's see. All right. So maybe we have make like a couple minutes, maybe like a couple minutes of this recording.
That's good.
I have to play the whole thing. So all right. I'm gonna pause it right there.
Yeah, funny enough, I have it right here.
Yeah.
I have it right here. So this is an EP. Asian countries loved EPs because you could get more music on them. So you could get twice the music on the same disc. Sadly, you suffer in music quality. As you can hear, that record has no bass.
Right.
That song is it's in the style called a yai, which is, like I said, it's kind of like it's an entertainment, and people go back and forth talking. However, this is the end of the singing. So the singing might last an hour for a full performance. At the end, the male usually would sing something saying goodbye to everybody, like leaving the stage type thing. So this is the name of the song is Lia Niet Chuan Po Niet. So farewell everybody, I give you good wishes, pretty much.
Okay.
And this is by Smian Yon, who he was a famous guy, a famous male yai singer from like 1950, the 1940s until the end of the Civil War. Well, he passed away during the war. But what he's saying is he's saying everybody, family and friends near and far, I wish you good luck, and I give my blessing to you all. And he's saying he's calling on the angels to please bring down good fortune and good luck and blessings on everybody who's there, the attendees to the performance and family and things like that. He's saying he's hoping that the angels will hear him and that they will offer the goodwill to everybody. And then he also says how he's sad that he has to leave. He doesn't want to stop singing. He wants to stay, keep performing, but sadly he has to go, type thing. And
that's interesting. Yeah,
that's pretty much all that this is. It's an EP, like I said, which I don't know why it's an EP, because they could have just made one long recording of the whole thing. So it's two parts. The first part, the first song is very badly damaged, which is why you hear it skip. The second song,
you hear it like skipped. It's very
skipped a lot of pops. But the second song plays all the way through, and he says the same thing pretty much. It's just a different way.
Okay. All right.
That's what people come to my channel for. That kind of stuff. That's what people come to my channel for. That type of music. They like that stuff.
And mostly, that's most of your audience listen to.
Yeah, that's like stuff like that might get like 2,000 views in a month, and the other stuff will get like 200 in like 6 months. So.
Yeah. All right. Here I have is now the Vietnam label, right? Is
yes.
From like Vietnam?
Yes, the Vietnam label is it filed for a patent in France in the 30s. So it's a label from the 1930s all the way to this. Actually, they made records in Vietnam until the Vietnam War, mind you, until the North captured the South. So they were made in Saigon, I think. But yeah, it's a Vietnamese label. I'm not exactly sure on the dynamic. I think because it was Southeast Asia was Indochina at that time. It was based in Saigon, because Saigon was pretty much the hub of Southeast Asia. So they had a studio there. So they would bring stuff. Now, there's a good example of a label that is actually used for entertainment. This is I would call this a home label,
Okay.
As in like music made for Cambodian people. It was not made for export like a lot of the Pathé recordings were, or the Columbia recordings and things like that, German recordings. Those are all entertainment records. There's some wedding music, there's some teaching music, but a lot of it is entertainment. That's one of the few labels where it is actually music for the common person.
For the common person.
Yeah.
So like because we're gonna go from like the 70s. They're on that Vietnam label. That's there. So this is one of your most, not your most viewed, but it's like has over 1,000 views. So I'm gonna play this one. It's probably gonna be the final one, and we're gonna talk about that and talk about a little bit more about it, and then we can just wrap it up.
Okay.
And hope you guys enjoy this record here, and we could just talk about more about it. So. Okay. All right. We can play now. All right. So I'm gonna stop it right now.
That is, I don't know why, but I guess I just have this like library in my head where I know all of my Cambodian records. Yeah, that is a 78 from the 40s. That one's I believe that one's for like 47 or 40. It's a fairly recent, early Vietnam label recording. That is story of Niang Bada Cha, which is a story about a woman who is pregnant, and I think like her kid. It has, I don't know the exact story. I have to ask my grandmother about it again. But it's basically about a woman who's pregnant, and in an impoverished time in Cambodia, back when the kings of Angkor were around. And it has something to do with a big snake and a big hawk coming and taking her kid or something like that.
Okay.
What she's saying in this one is she's saying, this is while she's pregnant. She's saying, "Honey, my stomach hurts. You know, the baby's about to be born. Right now my stomach hurts and I don't know what to do." And then he's like, "What do you mean your stomach hurts? Where'd that come from? Where'd that baby come from?"
Right.
You know, it's like, she's like, "I don't know." And then you hear the baby starting to cry. The baby is being born. She's like, "I can't go. We're stuck in the forest. I have to have the baby in the forest." So the baby is born in the jungle or the forest. They're not close to any doctors or any cities or villages. So that's pretty much it. And you hear him say later in the recording, when the baby starts crying, "Ayah!" You know, he's like scared, like, "Oh my goodness!" So the baby's being born and stuff like that. And this is one of those recordings where it's got like 20 parts.
Okay. Wow.
It is,
okay.
Yeah. It is. This is one of the. I think it's a side B. I think.
That's the B side. It says the B side here.
See, yeah, it's amazing how I can remember that. But yeah, side B. It's by a Basak orchestra, which is a theater orchestra. Now, this is an orchestra that is meant for entertainment. This was type of like you know those shadow theater plays where they hold the things. That's one of those Basak, and it's not very popular now. But
okay.
Yeah.
But it was back then.
Back then, it was very popular. Yeah. Extremely popular.
It was very popular. Yeah, I mean, and that's actually that's actually amazing that you actually got interested in this, in music like that. It's very interesting too as well. And that's just amazing. Colin, do you have questions about it? Any more questions or?
No, I think it's been a very informative discussion. It's quite a bit of about this.
Yeah. So unfortunately, a friend of mine couldn't come. Because
Hmm.
obviously he would ask more questions about it. But sadly, he couldn't come because technical difficulties with his computer. Um, but yeah, I mean, this is. Is there any few things you want to add, Sam? Maybe a couple things you want to add to tell
Uh,
the viewers about anything, or
if you find your way on my channel, leave a like if you can. Just ask a question. I love to interact with people who want to listen. I answer all questions. You know,
okay.
so anyone who has questions, I'm very happy to ask. Whether it be about American music, Western music, Asian music, about record players, I'm always happy to um, help and talk with anyone who wants to talk.
All right, that's great. And just make sure I will put your link down in the description below. I will make sure I will put that there. And you guys got to go take a listen of the music that he preserves and uploads. I think it's worth a listen. And yeah, I mean, take care, everyone. I'll guys see you guys in the next stream. Take care, everybody.